I'm back, and I have a really wonderful guest for you today. I first got to know Shayna Norwood of Steel Petal Press when she unveiled her own letterpress cards as a part time passion gig in 2008. As her part time passion gig snowballed, however, Shayna kept outgrowing both presses and studios. It ended up that the only way for her to afford a larger space without a huge commute was to dedicate a portion of that space to retailing both her and other makers' products. So the Steel Petal Press store opened in spring of 2016 in Chicago's Logan Square neighborhood. The front quarter is the shop. The rest is dedicated to production, warehousing, and shipping. Our biggest draw as a destination is our unique selection of cards and prints, along with our open print shop, Shayna told me when I profiled her in Stationery Trends in our winter 2020 issue. What I think is so wonderful about her store, other than the great product, is that visitors can see the letterpress in action if they come at the right time. And the other thing I really love is that it's rare to find something priced higher than $50. So I really wanted to interview Shayna about her experiences when the pandemic came. While she had to close her shop to the public, Shayna was in the shop every day, sending orders out and delivering them curbside. And I know this because she kept everyone updated throughout it all. And we even ordered a few puzzles from her. Shayna was finally able to reopen on June 4th, just in time for some of the biggest civil unrest this country, including Chicago, has seen in decades. So I really wanted to talk to her to see how she has just soldiered through this all. And if it doesn't sound like she's dealing with enough challenges for you, around the beginning of the year, Shayna started sharing her struggles with anxiety with her community in a very open and brave way. At the beginning of the year, she actually released a series of mental health trackers. I mean, I can't think of a better time to release something like that. So, with all she has going on, I really appreciate her taking the time to chat with me about it. And you can hear it for yourself right after this. Hey, paper peeps. So, by now, many of my listeners are familiar with the force of stationary nature, better known as Girl with Knife. But if you aren't, time to change all that. From the first moment I spied her booth at her New York Now trade show debut in 2019, I was smitten with this cutting edge range that the world was calling out for. We all just didn't know it yet. Everything is nimbly collaged to life, slice by careful slice by the talented and exquisite Alicia Castaldi. This stylish collection of cards, journals, and notepads that have sprung to life under this fashionista's exacting knife is sharp, snarky, sleek, and occasionally very sweet, just like that BFF who would love to hear from you right now. For that reason, whenever I get my hands on Girl with Knife merchandise, I hoard it and use it most sparingly. Alicia recently launched Gift Wrap, and if you're already a fan of her range, you're familiar with her patterns and quality, but these super thick sheets elevate any gift from off the rack to atelier. Her recent releases of Midnight Botanical, Rare Creatures, and Chasing Dreams bring the total styles that slay up to 10. And if you're like me and that you fall in love with a range and want to reside in that world, you're in luck. Alicia recently unveiled Knife House, which was one of the few good things I can think of that came out of 2020. That was when Alicia shifted her operation from LA to this newly renovated concept home in Palm Springs. This completely private, walled and gated estate features panoramic mountain views and countless luxe surprises. Take a tour through its magnificent blush pink doors at www.knifehousepalmsprings.com or find it on Instagram at Knife House Palm Springs. Good luck getting your jaw off the floor as you take in this perfect California adult playground. These glamorous digs are available for photo shoots, film projects, special events, and short-term rentals. But just as importantly, all that exquisite Palm Springs flora and fauna have inspired Alicia's soon-to-be-released journal and notepads. She tells me that they're also expanding into home decor, which I, for one, absolutely can't wait to see.
So now that you've glimpsed this wonderful world, you need this cutting edge lifestyle brand in your life. Find Girl with Knife in hundreds of shops across the US and over half a dozen countries. Alicia and Girl with Knife have also been featured in New York Magazine, LA Business Journal, BuzzFeed, and of course, Stationery Trends. I've run her work there countless times. Alicia was one of our 10 designers to watch in 2020 and proceeded to live up to that designation when last May, 2 out of her 3 nominated cards took CHAP honors at the Noted and Noted virtual greeting card competition. Then, for our winter 2021 issue of Stationery Trends, Alicia designed the 10 designers to watch frontispiece for us. It is something else if you haven't seen it yet. Also, as of 2021, Alicia is represented by none other than the Daniel Richards showrooms in Atlanta and Dallas. Dan's eye is renowned in this biz, so his representing Girl with Knife is unsurprising, but it also means that this brand needs to be on your design radar stat. Check out this beguiling range at the recently refreshed girlwithknife.com. Right now, the theme is Season of Fierce, and I think we can all use one of those about now. I guarantee your stationery will slay.
Shayna!
Hi.
Hi!
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good today. It's a day-by-day basis.
I know the feeling, believe me.
I feel like everyone does. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shayna, for being here. And welcome to the Paper Fold. I can imagine you have a million things on your plate right now. But I'm really curious, just getting a glimpse of the last several months of your life. I'd love to start with kind of where we were when I saw you at NSS and New York Now.
Mm-hmm.
Your booth was super busy. You had a wholesale booth, and I think I saw you in the aisles buying for the shop as well.
Uh-huh.
How was the show for you, and where was the health of your business after that?
Yeah. I opened a retail shop in 2016, and I had been going to trade shows before that.
Mm-hmm.
So I took like a few year break from going to trade shows, and I've only really been back in the game for like maybe a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I saw you in January, that was maybe only our like 4th trade show, and like coming back to it. But it was really good. We were getting traction again. We were in a good location by the front. People were starting to like remember us and recognize us again. So I felt like it went really well, and we hit the sales goals that we had. So I mean, I felt really good in like January and February. Our wholesale business was growing. I was looking to hire a new operations manager. That was kind of where we were in like January and February.
Right. And then I had to email you about something, and then this is what you wrote me on March 25th. This is kind of where you were. I'm gonna read this.
I was not in a good place.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to read this very sad soliloquy. At the beginning of this nightmare, 3 of my girls had fevers, and because none of them were eligible to get tested, I basically had to call it and have them stay home for over a week. I used their sick hours, and they were able to get their full paychecks for the last pay period at least. I was at the shop for 10 days straight. I started posting images and stories online and having people call in to place their order for either curbside pickup or shipping to them. Finally, after a rainy day with absolutely 0 foot traffic, I finally had to call it and close my doors to the public. It was at this point I started using my website for selling my retail items. Even though our website was originally only for our own products, we started putting our in-store only items online. Puzzles, coloring books, games, and other items have been doing well for us. We have been offering free shipping and Corona care packages for people to order and ship to their friends. Chicago is on lockdown, but businesses that ship items are still allowed to go into work.
While all of the retail Chicago stuff was happening, our retail partners started postponing and canceling orders. Our wholesale business has basically dwindled to nothing. I still have 5 people on staff, 2 full-timers and 3 part-timers, and I've had to cut all their hours across the board. It's been changing day by day, and right now I'm feeling like it will only get worse before it gets better. It has been uplifting to connect to people and feel a sense of community, so the bad always comes with a little good too. I'm ready to cry.
That's so sad.
Sorry. So my question to you is, it's so sad. I mean, I know, I'm so glad you were able to vent to me, but receiving that was like every sentence was like worse than the last.
Yeah.
Until the last one, when you're like, well, it's not all bad.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting that in. So my question to you now is, now that you've opened on June 4th and you've had a little time to process all the weeks in quarantine, like how are you doing? Like, I understand your business is not all about the bottom line, but we all have to eat.
Right, totally.
So I'm curious about like where you are right now.
So wholesale was very, 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 very slow for a good 2 months. We would maybe have like 1 or 2, like we went from like, I don't even know how many a week. It was down. Our wholesale business was down like probably like 75 to like 90%.
Whoa.
So that was happening. We were able to get a lot of our retail stuff online and people were ordering that way. So April was looked okay in terms of our retail shop sales. And that was when we got the PPP loan then. And we got, and there, I think people were getting their like stimulus checks and everything. So that April is okay. May like really started to peter out a lot. And then I just kind of at some time through May, instead of focusing all my efforts into like marketing and getting people to buy stuff, I was kind of more focusing on like what it would look like opening back up and like what all the new rules would look like.
Right.
I mean, I'm on like a million different webinars, basically being like, this is how you open, this is what the rules are. It was all either like opening rules and like what other people were doing to open, or it was PPP loan forgiveness rules too, which was a whole nother headache and a nightmare in and of itself.
Right.
I thought I was lucky to have gotten the loan really early, but then like they kept changing the rules and like of how you could be forgiven like every week. So I was on multiple webinars and talked to my accountant multiple times a week just to get that sorted. It was like a whole nother job. So now we are open. Wholesale has picked up a little bit, but it was still definitely not at where we were at. And then retail is also doing okay, but it's not at any, we just have a bunch more cleaning procedures in. We have abbreviated hours in the retail shop. So, I mean, it's definitely looking better, but there's just a whole new sense of kind of, you know, things that make you nervous and, you know, people coming into the store and how to help, you know, the staff feel safe and people feel safe and also be conscientious. So it is nice to have people in, but it is like I feel like I have to do the math every week and be like, okay, is this working with the staffing we have? Is this working for the hours we have? Like, you know, how long can we last like this? What, you know,
right.
What next? It's really hard to predict and to budget like what the next few weeks or months are going to look like. So yeah, kind of odd. But I had a conversation actually with my husband about this too. It's like in the beginning when everything was unknown and changing all the time, things have been so stable and so kind of predictable for a while that now at least I'm like myself and the staff and our customers and everybody is used to things changing all the time. So even if it's still as unsettling, there's like you're getting more used to changing things
right.
on a week to week basis.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's constant. Are Are you finding like the mood of your customers a little different? Are they excited to be back? Are they,
Everybody is excited to be back. I was worried because that last week that we were open, where I was the only one here, and it was March, so it's in Chicago, the weather's crappy. Um, it was rainy all the time. It was kind of the people didn't want to go out anyway, and then everyone was terrified to go out, no matter how clean you were keeping things. Um, so I was worried that when we opened back up, it was going to be like nobody was going to be walking in the door at all. And it's been like, well, the weather's nicer. People have been wanting to get out. People have been ready to, go shopping, go to their favorite store, happy to support small businesses. So it's definitely been a better reacclimation than I was originally anticipating. I was expecting to be sitting here by myself all day, every day. And we've had a fair amount of foot traffic. It's not at what we were, but it's definitely way better than that last week of March, for sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And, you're limiting clients in the store.
Mm-hmm.
And
masks are required by Illinois state law if you're inside. So that's our rule, but then it's also Illinois state law rule. We have very vigorous cleaning procedures. So anytime someone walks in the door, we have a little hand sanitizer station right at the front. We ask they sanitize their hands, and then we're just telling people, feel free to look around. We just ask that you don't touch anything. If you do, just put it in a shopping basket. We can collect it at the end. If you don't buy it, we can set it aside for disinfecting. And people have been very understanding of that also. A lot of times people just come in, and I was even seeing this like the week before we closed, people would come in and just, be careful not to touch the handle when they come in, but then touch all the merchandise because people, you want to pick it up, you want to look at it, you want to inspect it, you want to turn the pages of the book. So people have been really respectful of like not touching a ton of things, or if they are, like collecting it for us so that we can set it aside and make sure that it is set aside to disinfect, or just set aside for 3 days to, make sure that it's, clean before we put it back out on the floor. And then other than that, we do have a limit of 6 people. We've only really had to align wait outside a handful of times. Most people even look in and be like, oh, is it okay to come in, or how many other people are in here? And what else are we doing? Those are the main ones for the customers. And then we have a bunch of other cleaning procedures for our staff too. At the end of the night, just vigorously cleaning. And we don't even have that many people in here at once for staff members, but just, making sure we clean all the countertops, all the light switches, the alarm pad, the thermostat, things like that most people touch.
Right. Right. And I think, like, listening to you, I'm sitting here thinking, wow, Stationery has it a little tough because we are a high touch business. I mean, there might be certain types of retail where like you don't have the urge to touch everything.
Right.
But for us, we do. How has the transition just been for you and your staff, just kind of handling it, all the new normal rules?
I think so. We went over all of these in like multiple staff meetings before we opened up. And then I've kind of just the 2 of the people that we have here all the time are very used to it. We have some other part-time people who come in and kind of have to get used to it, but approaching everyone when they get in and telling them the rules, it'll take a few times, but then it kind of starts to feel habitual. And then it also, like for me at least, I feel safer being in here, knowing that anytime after someone's at the cash wrap, we wipe down that surface. Like it might seem extreme, but it also to me, it makes me feel better just touching things, and
Absolutely.
being in the space on my own. Because when I was here, when we were here and we were closed, I knew I could come in and like feel safe, and it's somewhere that I want. Like, I personally want to feel safe. Obviously, I want my staff to feel safe, and then I want my customers to know that we are being diligent also.
Right. Absolutely. And you had mentioned too in that one letter that 3 of your girls were sick.
Yes.
I would be remiss not to ask how they're doing.
They're fine. We don't know what it was. Three of them had like a fever and a cough and was sick for like a week. So I mean, they couldn't get tested. It was like, I remember one girl got sick. It was March 11th and the other one was March 13th. And then the other one was like, and me and the one other girl that were here during the time that we're covering for them, like we didn't get sick, but I noticed that 2 girls had been sharing the phone because we have the shop phone that everybody shares, and 2 of them had also been sharing like a workspace. So I mean, everybody was came out of it after the 14 days, but I mean, we had no idea if it was a flu, if it was COVID, if it we don't know.
If it
So
was the
I
flu.
don't
I
know.
know. I know. That the not knowing is
Yeah. And
probably
now there's
worse.
really rigorous testing too. And like, I mean, my husband goes grocery shopping and he qualified for a free test. But, early March, they were only like reserving like one of the girls went to go get a COVID test because she told me she had a fever. I was like, go to get tested right away. And they were basically like, because you're not a high risk patient, because you don't have asthma or aren't over the age of whatever, then we can't give you a test because those are reserved for if you are in a high risk category. So I mean, it was just a lot of having to make decisions with not a lot of guidance.
Right. It's a bad combo.
Yeah.
So you mentioned so everybody, all your stuff is back, and now that you've been open a little, 18 days, have you had any difficulties or any difficult situations with customers or anybody being reluctant?
Almost everybody has been super respectful. I think we haven't really had to turn anyone away because they weren't wearing a mask that I know of. There are some people that forget not to touch things, but most people that have come in we tell them the rules as soon as they come in, and everybody's been really great. And our neighborhood is pretty open-minded and forward-thinking and, conscientious. So I think it also has to do with our location too, that everybody, if anything, everybody is thankful, A, that we're open, but then also B, that we are taking all these extra precautions. Like, we don't have to tell people not to touch things and collect them and disinfect them afterwards and disinfect the cash wrap, before and after each transaction. But people are glad that we are doing that. So I think it also has to do with like the customers and what they want also.
Right. So you mentioned that your traffic was a little lower. Like when you think about last June and this June, can you just briefly tell me the difference?
So right now, so the first week, I think when we opened right around the time that Chicago was opening up. So we didn't we were one of the first stores that, there were some people who were waiting an extra week or two. So that first week people were just getting used to kind of going out and shopping for non-essential things. And it was also right around the time that like rioting and the looting was happening. Lives Matter protests, and my block also had been affected by some of that. So the tension, it was a tense time to reopen. So I think a lot of things were slower because of that. This week we have definitely picked up. It's also the week before Father's Day. So if you compare it to like any other week in June, we're actually doing pretty well. If you compare it to the week before Father's Day, we're lower than last year. But I feel like that's all to be expected. So anyway, we've only been open 2 weeks and there have been weird weeks. So
Right,
I,
right.
I can't give a definitive answer on
Right,
that.
right. But but you're on a positive,
Yeah.
hopefully you're on a positive path. I mean, like
Yes.
barring
Yeah.
a zombie apocalypse next week.
Right. Yeah. Totally. An alien invasion. Who knows?
Like, um,
But then also, oh my God, I just forgot what I was going to say. I was
well,
going to say something about foot traffic. Oh, we did the first week. I was going to have more staff on for fewer days because I thought there was going to be like maybe there's going to be lineups and we needed more people to disinfect and da 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 and tell the rules. And I decided that we were cutting down to um, the same amount of hours for the staff, but spread out over more days. So instead of being open 5 days a week with like 2 to 3 people on for the whole day, we're open 7 days a week, but someone might be working a half a day on their own. Um,
right.
so that we've kind of adjusted to that. And I think that's actually been better too, because it seems like we have more neighborhood shoppers. Um, and more people who would just pop in maybe like around lunchtime or right after work. Um, and that's not going to affect that they have more chances to come in, and we
Right.
don't need to have like 2 people fully watching the front for the whole 6 or 7 hours that we're open. So
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look, you should totally adjust your business practices
yeah,
to, you know, what, the reality you're dealing with.
yeah.
You had mentioned, I know, you briefly mentioned that, some of the Black Lives Matter protests affected your block. And I'd seen that you had said, I think on a store blog post that you cleared out your window, you put up a Black Lives Matter sign. What happened there?
So it was Sunday, right before the Sunday, like a few days before we were opening, there was some of the protests had been in like downtown Chicago. We're moving up into like different neighborhoods. So there was a protest walking up Milwaukee Avenue, which is one of the main avenues that goes from downtown towards where we are. Um, One of the neighborhoods that's a little bit further south of us is kind of heavier retail area. And I know a lot of places got looted there. Um, and a lot of businesses were boarding up. We are a few miles past that neighborhood, Wicker Park. So we're in Logan Square, which is a few miles past Wicker Park. Our neighborhood didn't get hit as hard as downtown or as Wicker Park, but we did have some of the like peaceful protesters walking up, and then some people were just here to loot.
Right.
So we have a head shop that's across the street from us. They got broken into. There's another dispensary that's down like at the end of our block. They got broken into. A few like a little bit farther down that block. There's a pawn shop that got broken into. There's some liquor stores. A little bit further, maybe like a mile down the road from us, but still in our neighborhood. There's one corner where one of the protests was like centered out of, and there's an AT&T, a Gap outlet, a Foot Locker. All of those got broken into and totally looted.
Wow.
So yeah, so that was in the meantime, I like where I am, it's kind of more, there's like some bars and restaurants, but like not really a bunch of shops, but like there's a few, like me and I have 2 neighbors next to me that are both 2 other clothing stores. They both decided to board up their storefronts. At that point, but they have more valuable things also. I was like, the most valuable thing we have at our shop is the window. And then it would be really hard for someone to run off with like any, extreme amount of like greeting cards or parcels that would be worth a lot of money. So that would even be worth the board up. So I ultimately decided it wasn't worth boarding up for that. And once I walked around the neighborhood, it was like the day or 2 before we were going to open. I walked around the neighborhood just to kind of see what had happened, and I could tell that it was very deliberate and targeted looting. Like people were looting liquor stores, or they were looting, chain stores. Oh, there's a Target that's a few doors down from us too that got looted. So it's like liquor stores, pharmacies, chain stores, shoes and clothes.
Right.
greeting cards, gift items. I personally was like, nobody, like, it's only if they see something in the window that they want.
Right.
So yeah, but all of that was happening around the same time. And it was, again, having to make decisions. I'm on like an Instagram chat with some other Chicago shop owners, and there's people who are closer to downtown or closer to different areas. And I mean, I might have decided something different if I was in a, hot spot that was getting more hit by looters.
That's great. I mean, that's great that you know that you came out of it like that. And I mean, who's going to loot a notebook?
Right. I mean, yeah, it didn't seem like it was, I mean, there's some, it didn't seem like there was any there was any anyone would really want to come in and do that. So yeah.
Right. Well, I'm glad they didn't. And I know you already placed your window once, so
right. And I think in that perspective, I was like, it's a window. We'll board it up when it gets like broken down. Like, we're fine.
Right. Well, you've already been through it.
Yeah.
Like, so much of this has been navigating stuff for the first time. Like, at least you've navigated the window.
Right. Yeah.
So, I guess my next question to you, I've heard talk, I mean, since the beginning about a second wave. So looking ahead, if the worst happens and we have to go through a second wave and you have to close again, I mean, do you feel better equipped? And I'm wondering if you've learned anything over the past few months that, will be key in you going through it again.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing we had to do was put everything online. So, and we didn't have any system for that before or rhyme or reason. Being able to market things online and market things to our email list and like let people know. And then we had to rethink our whole inventory system because we basically used to have a totally separate front of house and back of house inventory system. And the way that our shipping went through and where things were tracked, it was a logistical nightmare. And then when we opened back to the public, we basically readjusted some of the ways we had been doing inventory before. So definitely feel like way more streamlined and being able to track orders, track what we're selling, track, what the money we're bringing in. It was definitely very, very messy in the beginning. And there's a few months of just kind of lost data in terms of that.
Right. Oh, that's crazy. So you will be much better equipped to go through it again.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And the other thing I feel like, when this was happening, we were kind of like ramping up our staffing and things were getting busier. And then to be able to cut back and kind of be more lean and mean, I feel like having that capacity of not being this gigantic corporation, it really allows us to, expand and contract. Payroll takes up more than half of what our monthly expenses are. So to be able to know that we can kind of expand and contract that to fit the needs of what the business is, and then still keep some money coming in, it feels like we're able to navigate that a little bit better.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. I mean, and I'm just a big fan of the idea of like the first time is always so difficult. Obviously, we don't want a second time, but like, at least you've gotten some of the kinks out.
Yeah.
So over the past year or so, it might be a little longer than that, you've been so candid about your struggles with anxiety and even helped others by creating product to address it. So I really want to close by asking, how are you doing? I know you mentioned at the beginning, like it's day by day, and I feel you. I mean, I'm in the same place, but like, how are you doing personally through all this?
Right now today, I'm feeling pretty good and positive. In March, I was just in survival mode. I still have a lot of, I had a lot of anxiety about opening up the shop again and being safe. I feel like we've kind of crossed over that hump. So I feel good about that. The riots and the looting, like on top of all the other struggles of being a business owner and the protesting and, you know, cops murdering people was definitely like that, like pocket window was probably the toughest time for me because all of the regular small business stuff on top of things that I am not don't feel like equipped to really I feel empathetic and I want to address them, but I don't know the best way to because it's also not my story and a lot of questioning coming up with all of that stuff too. That was, I think, the worst, the hardest week or two, just because it was compounded with everything else that you know, all small business owners and everybody has been struggling with, you know, for the last 3 months. And I think kind of that was the tenor of all of the, you know, the protests, everything too. And like, right, is everyone's just kind of frustrated and people aren't working and there's not a lot of money. The economy is crashing. I mean, everyone's kind of already in survival mode and tensions are already high. And then it just feels more tense on top of it. But I'm kind of figuring out how to balance those things and focus on what I can control and work towards, you know, being better, just, you know, being more conscientious about supporting other Black businesses and also what steps I can take as a business owner to help that cause and the Black Lives Matter movement and, you know, stand up for things I believe in while also not letting it completely rule my life.
Right.
You know,
it's so hard.
that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I thought over these past several months that like even the most well-adjusted person, you know, whatever that means, would have a lot of trouble dealing with all of this. I mean, if you know, it's an incredible amount of just information and emotion. And so, you know, if you're getting through it like minute by minute, if it's hour by hour, like you're still getting through it. So I'm really happy that you're in. And on a personal note, I just have to say, like, watching you through this all through quarantine, just doing blog posts and sending stuff out. We ordered a couple puzzles from you guys. See you through it, to see you there, to see you working, to see you plugging away, and to see you being very candid about, you know, everything. It was incredibly wonderful to watch, and it helped me. So thank you.
I mean, part of the thing that I felt like I've never really showed my face on like Instagram that much or like been that like vocal in terms of like, you know, newsletters and stuff, but just, I mean, we all are like looking for connection. And I mean, one of the reasons why I started doing my mental health trackers, like notepads last year, was that I wanted to be able to talk about things more openly. And I know that everybody knowing that and being able to relate to something, and especially like social media can be very glossy and only the highlights, and like to also don't like dwell in the lowlights, but like acknowledge that they're there. It can really help people feel, you know, that they're not alone. And then also the amount of feedback that I've gotten from it. Like I remember the week before I was closing, I was like doing so many Instagram stories like, hey guys, you can come in. Nobody else is in here. You can be safe. People would come in and be like, oh, I saw your story. I saw that nobody else was here. So I felt safe coming in, you know, like, and just having people like call and respond to that, and knowing that, you know, it's not just speaking out into the abyss, but people are actually like taking in that information, makes it easier to feel like I'm actually talking to someone, you know, talking to a friend moving forward too.
Right. And you, I mean, you are.
I would never, I don't know. I still haven't cried yet on camera. I don't know if I'm brave enough to do that, but I'll let you know I have cried many times in the last few months.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think we all have, but it's very brave to be so authentic on social media. Social media is such a for many and for a long time, it was such a sanitized version
Mhm.
of ourselves. And I think to be honest and authentic, it's very powerful and it's empowering, and it is hopefully inspires others that, maybe, just not feel the need to put out such a sanitized version
Yeah,
of their
yeah.
lives.
And I'm like, sometimes I'm super awkward and I'll like do 20 takes and then finally I'm just like, you know what? Just go with the bloopers. Just do whatever. Like it's like your friend, like, and that's what I've started to be more comfortable doing is that like it feels
Mhm.
like, my friends like me, like anybody who is following us on Instagram or, is like knows that it's me now because they're used to seeing my face. So it feels more like there's more acceptance there. So there's more ability to be like, vulnerable and authentic in those ways too.
Right, right. Imagine how much work it would be to like
Oh
maintain this
God.
persona.
If anybody knows me too, it's I'm just me and no matter what situation it is. So I don't even know if I could do that. Like it's just what you see is what you get pretty much.
Well, that's good. Don't change. So, Shayna, I cannot thank you enough for joining me in the paper fold today. I will continue watching and buying from you and covering you, and I'm just really looking forward to hopefully seeing you on the other side
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for taking the time to talk. I probably won't be at any shows this coming up, so I might, if you were going to go, I won't see you there. But it was, you can always just pop in and say hi on social media or just shoot me an email.
I will. I don't know where I'm going or what shows I'm going
Yeah,
to
traveling is
either.
a
So
scary
you're
thing.
in good
Yeah,
you're in good company. Anyway, thank you so much again, and
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
talk
Thank you.
soon.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hey, Paper Peeps. So, Kitty Meow Boutique has been a fabulous client of mine for a while now. So, hopefully, many of my listeners are familiar with not just the dazzling wares from this Chicagoland house of paper, but also its amazing founder, a force of nature better known as Catherine Hildner. This mom of two, with another scheduled to arrive soon, has created a most intoxicating stationery range. I define the Kitty Meow aesthetic as polished and very smart. Think of the sharpest outfit you own that you feel like $1,000,000 in, but in stationery form. Everything from typography to envelope choice comes together to pack a most enticing punch. But this range is not just about the surface, it's about honoring those connections with those we care about most. And you'll see once you visit kittymeowboutique.com that the wares are divided into witty and sweet because, as Catherine puts it, sometimes you feel a little saucy and sometimes you don't. But Kitty Meow Boutique is so much more than just another pretty face in the marketplace. The empowering messaging found on her cards, invitations, journals, coasters, art prints, and enamel pins elevates the range into something that makes you feel not just seen, but good about yourself too. Everything is essentially a little lift, visually and emotionally, for not just those you love, but you as well. Not only is Kitty Meow available for your personal shopping needs, it's also available wholesale to all those shops looking for something new with which to excite their customers. She's on Fair. Visit kittymeowboutique.fair.com and get your shop started. Finally, I think what I love about Catherine most is that she is really all about living your best life, as you'll see for yourself beneath the education tab on her site. She offers KMB Signature Collective, a mastermind for women in the product-based business world who have a love for paper and giftable items, who have an idea and a plan, but need guidance and support to be successful in their efforts. I so agree with Catherine. It's so important to be surrounded by like-minded women and leaders who are willing to put in the work to lift each other up. For that reason, it's not a course. It's a friggin' transformation, people. And Catherine has also started my second favorite podcast, Dreams to Plants, with another brilliant force of nature, my girlfriend Renee, to elevate your daydreams to actual, tangible plants. Oh, and if you're on Clubhouse, follow Kitty Meow so you can tune in to her weekly room Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called Small Business Savvy, Insider Secrets You Need to Know. I checked it out for myself last week, and it was just the dose of inspiration and confidence my day needed. So get those good vibes going at kittymeowboutique.com and tell them Sarah sent you.
Thank you so much, Shayna, for dropping by the Paperfold, and thank you to you for listening. Please subscribe, and if you have an idea for a podcast or you would like to appear, drop me a line at sarah@thepapernerd.com. That's all I've got for today, folks. Until next time, be safe.